This question is from Vijay Alokan of TAPME to Mr. Adi Godrej. In a country as diverse as India, is segmentation really possible?
Is what possible?
Is segmentation really possible?
Not only is segmentation possible, it is absolutely a must. Because India is so diverse, such a huge variety in terms of languages, in terms of cultures, religions, climates, that segmentation is an absolute must for any marketeer. And I think perhaps segmentation in India is required much more than in most other markets. Now I'll just give you an example. I mean, look at just the climatic differences in India. You can be swimming on the beach in southern India all the year round, and you could be skiing in the month of July in India, in Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. So the climatic differences are so huge. Languages are very, very different. I think a lot of northern Indians would understand a little bit of each other's language. Northern Indians speak a little bit of English, but very, very few Northern Indians speak any Tamil or Telugu. So you can see the differences in terms of cultures, languages, etc. Segmentation, to my mind, is a must. And I think some of the most successful marketeers in India are the ones who have very successfully segmented markets and then address these segments well.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is from Mr. Manoj. China is known for producing cheapest products, but why can't India do that?
This is a very good question. I don't think India cannot do that. India isn't doing that well, but it should do it well. And it's extremely, eminently possible. If one notices in recent times, over the last year or two, Chinese wage costs in the coastal Chinese regions are increasing quite a lot. Their middle-level incomes are now creating a shortage of labor in the coastal regions. People like to come to the coastal regions from the interiors of China for a few years, earn and go back. And I think this is an ideal situation for India to become very manufacturing oriented. Unfortunately, the salience of manufacturing in the Indian economy is very low. It's only 16% currently. A new manufacturing policy has been announced which aims to take this salience from 16% to 25% in 10 years' time. And if we can implement it well, many things need to be done. I think it can lead to very significant improvements in manufacturing in India. Especially export-oriented manufacturing should be paid a lot of attention. It can be done. To my mind, it will be done. And it's not that it can't be done. Unfortunately, we haven't done it well up to now, but I'm sure we can do it over the next 10 years. Thank you.
One last question, Mr. Godrej. Yes, sure. From Dr. H.S. Srivatsa. There are two things that have not changed in my home for the past 2 decades, the Navtal lock and the Godrej Almera. Do you think that quality that is being delivered is on the higher side when compared to others?
Well, I hope so. But locks was our first business. We started making locks 115 years ago. And we are still leaders in this field in India. Of course, now the technology has changed quite a lot. People want combination locks now. People want different types of locks, etc. And we're trying to keep pace with the change in consumers. Cupboards has also been a very old business of ours. I must confess, though, that it's not a question of quality, but the cupboards we used to make maybe 70 years ago were quite different from what we do today. Basically, the, the thickness of the steel is much less today than it used to be then. Then it used to be almost like a safe. Today that would be unaffordable with the cost of materials. But it's still a growing business for us. We are also surprised that it still continues to grow when a lot of people look to building built-in closets in their home. But it's still a growing business for us. But of course, from the earlier locks and cupboards, we have expanded into many other areas of consumer durables over the years. But an interesting story I would like to mention here, it's not to do with locks or cupboards, but it's got to do with our safes. We are the largest safe and bank vault manufacturer in India. And we used to have a lot of competition from British safes until I think it was around 1942, especially manufacturers like Chubb, which was a big British brand. And then suddenly we started doing very well thereafter, because there was a major explosion in the Indian docks of a ship carrying ammunition during the war, which exploded and caused major devastation in the fort area of then Bombay, what is today Mumbai. And all the contents of British safes were destroyed, and most of the contents of our safes were okay. My grandfather had patented a method of putting between the two walls of the safe an exothermic chemical, which would release water in case of a major fire and protect the contents of the safe. And this was the first time it actually came very useful. And thereafter, our safe sales just went skywards. Thank you.
Mr. Godrej, we have a couple of more questions. Yeah. We have one question from Professor Peter from Turkey. What do you expect from future marketing professionals? What should we teach with priority?
Well, I think as was discussed earlier, I think I'd like to answer these questions in two parts. One, it's some of the global elements and some of the Indian elements. So I think marketing is what makes for strong value added and differentiation in corporations, in growing corporations. And whatever field you take, I think marketing is quite obvious for consumer products and some other such areas. But if you look at it, very successful corporations have distinguished themselves by two things. One is innovation in products and services, and innovation in marketing. So I feel marketing is what differentiates strongly successful corporations from others. And what is very important is to continue strong marketing success over a long period of time. In India, to my mind, it has even a greater role to play than globally, because I think Indian companies typically in the past have focused less on marketing than they should have. And that one of the major reasons, to my mind, was until about 20 years ago, our market was very protected, very closed, and you didn't need to spend too much effort or money on marketing to be successful. Since then, competition has increased quite dramatically. I think marketing differentiation has become extremely important across various fields, and as Indian companies globalize, I think greater emphasis on brand building and marketing will be very critical for success.
Thank you. Next question is from Professor Jitesh Kumar from IIM Ahmedabad. He says that getting data for management research is a big constraint in developing countries like India. So can CII or Godrej facilitate marketing research by sharing some data?
Yeah, I'm sure we could, not only we could, but we should. But I think what happens is that I think people shy away a little because there are very large number of requests for such data. So people don't know which of the data would be leveraged well and which wouldn't. So if an